Films were silent, cars looked like this, and there were a lot of hats. The world map also looked pretty different. This was a time of empires, when powerful European countries were taking other territories, forming alliances, amassing huge armies and navies, and competing for power. Many people thought that a war was coming. It started with an assassination. Gavrilo Princip, a Bosnian Serbian student, shot Archduke Franz Ferdinand, heir to the throne of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, on June 28, 1914. It triggered a war between Austria-Hungary and Serbia. And because of those alliances and tensions we mentioned earlier, the war quickly grew. Germany was allied with the Austro-Hungarian Empire, while Serbia was supported by Russia, which was friends with France. Then, when Germany invaded neutral Belgium to get to France, the UK joined the fight. That side was known as the Triple Entente, or the Allies. Not long after, the Ottoman Empire got involved on the other side, known as the Central Powers. It wasn't just the scale of the war that made it different. There was also new technology that changed the way it was fought. Machine guns made it hard for armies to move across open land, so trench warfare was born. It was slow and brutal. As well as bombs and bullets, disease and cold killed thousands of people. There were moments of light, like a famous story from the Western Front. As Christmas approached in 1914, British soldiers could hear their German enemies singing carols from the trenches. On Christmas Day, both sides laid down their weapons, exchanged gifts, and played a game of soccer. But, of course, the truce didn't last. As the war went on, more technology was designed to break the deadlock, like more accurate guns, planes, and poison gas. The first tank prototype was built in September 1915. It wasn't bulletproof or high-tech, but it meant eventually conflict could move out of the trenches. As part of the British Empire, Australia was involved in the war from the start.
Up and away to war.
Around 400,000 young men volunteered, along with around 3,000 women. Many had never been overseas and were keen to see the world and serve their king and country. Most were sent to the Western Front, which was one of several major fronts in the war, including the East and the Middle East, where Australia also played a big role. On April 25, 1915, Australian and New Zealand soldiers landed in Gallipoli, a peninsula in what we now know as Turkey. More than 50,000 Anzacs fought alongside British and French troops in the 8-month-long campaign, and more than 8,000 Australians died. While the Allies didn't win the campaign, to many Australians, Gallipoli became a symbol of national identity. The war dragged on for 3 more years, taking a huge toll on the countries at its heart. Russia had a revolution and eventually left the fight, while America joined at the end of 1917, helping to shift things in favour of Britain and its allies. By late 1918, it was over. Germany and its allies had all been defeated, and on the 11th of November, leaders met in a train carriage in France. Germany signed a formal agreement called an armistice to stop the conflict. At 11 a.m, the fighting stopped, and in many countries around the world, there were celebrations. While the war was over, around 20 million people were dead. Empires fell, and Germany was officially blamed for the war, forced to disarm, surrender its colonies, and make huge payments to the Allies. World War I changed history. At the time, it was known as the Great War, or the war to end all wars. Of course, that wasn't true, and an even deadlier war was only 20 years away. But the 11th of November is still seen as an important day for many countries around the world. A time to reflect on the horrors of the First World War and all the wars since, and to hope for a more peaceful future.